Hi, I'm Louise Gannon. I'm the teacher of students with visual impairments.
And I'm Tracy Arnold. I'm also a teacher of students with visual impairments.
So when I think of our students with visual impairment and what inclusivity means for them, it means allowing them the opportunity, equal access to what is happening at the campus level. So if the students are in doing an activity, that they too have the opportunity to complete that same activity, knowing that we need to make accommodations to whatever is necessary.
And I agree with that. I think it's our kids getting to share in the same experience as their peers, but getting what they need to make that experience the most meaningful to them. So, one way that we do that is we work really hard to collaborate with all the stakeholders that are involved in a student's education. So, their teachers at their campus, related service providers like OT and PT, and the parents, and then the students themselves, because they're honestly stakeholders in their education too. Um, so, just making sure that everyone's on the same page, and I think that's a really good way that we remove obstacles and barriers for our students.
Right. And I think another way that we do it is that we make sure that our parents are connected to outside resources. So we have Region 10 and we have Texas Workforce Solutions, many different programs that work with our students with visual impairment. So we ensure that those teachers and the families all know about those opportunities and that they are given that information. A personal or professional experience of inclusion that makes me smile. I think I smile every day because I go into the campuses that have my students with visual impairments and I see collaboration and ways that they take activities and make sure that they are accommodated for so that they can participate. And one in particular is when one of my visually impaired students, who's actually totally blind, went over to the Environmental Learning Center. So we collaborated with those people that worked there and they made sure that he had access to all the animals. So as the animals were introduced, he got to hold them. So sometimes he jumped away and was like, oh, what am I touching? But many times he spent just a long time really tactily exploring the animal and getting a real feel for what it is that he was touching or the animals that he was touching.
Um, One that makes me smile, it's actually one of my campuses as a whole. One of the things that they just did is their librarian created a section of the library with adapted books for my students that are in the ALC, ELC classrooms. And it's not just like 4 or 5 books. I mean, at least 100 books there. Because I really believe that like every student should have a favorite book. And for our students with visual impairment, sometimes we have to modify those books in order for them to really enjoy them. And so, as a campus, they created this library. Liam's Library is what it's called, and it's just beautiful because my students get to go in there and check out books, but the students that are in other classes also have access to those books. So I think that just creates an environment where they're starting to learn to empathize with our students and understand how they explore things. It's not just with vision, it's through touch and smell and hearing. And I just think that that campus does just a wonderful job of it's just the norm that all students are included. And I think that's just great.
Right. I think one of the other, I want to mention this real quick because this just happened today, so it really made me happy, was one of our VI teachers was meeting with the math teacher and they were working on percentages and shading graphs for percentages. And the classroom teacher came up with the idea of using a boppet. So a square boppet with 10 rows up and down. And so instead of figuring out how he was going to shade something, he's going to use the boppet to do his percentages. So I think that those kind of experiences happen to us all the time. Our teachers, our parents, they are so creative on how they accommodate for the students' vision loss. And it's so fun. It makes my job so much easier and so much, not even easier, just so much more enjoyable to see everybody so involved in this child's education. What is something you want others to know about students and families that we serve? Well, this is one that probably, when we were talking about it, or Traci and I were talking about it, is our families want everybody to know their child. They want to talk, they will talk to anybody about their child, who he is, what his visual impairment is, and they want their child to be engaged with. And so anything that they can do to make that easier for those working with the child, teachers, other students within the classroom, they are more than willing to come up and make that happen. And so anyway, we have the best job in the world.
We really do. And then for our students, I just think that everyone should know that you should have high expectations for our students with visual impairments, because when you set that expectation, they will rise to meet it. And so they're capable of doing great things, and that's our students who are in ALC up to our students that are seniors in high school about to graduate. I think they're great. We really do have the best job in the world.
Yeah. I just shared this story with her. So I have, since I was a very young child, knew that I was going to teach children with special needs. I mean, I don't think I ever even engaged in looking at any other field. So when I was in high school, I got the opportunity to work at Dallas Services for Visually Impaired Children. And I really enjoyed it, but I still went off to college thinking I'm going to get a degree in teaching special education. But I had this lovely older woman who came up and pulled me out of a line and said, "What do you want to do?" And I told her, and she said, "You want to teach children with visual impairments, and I'm going to tell you why." And she was the #1 person in the entire world, Dr. Natalie Barriga. And she sat down with me in her office and told me why I wanted to do this. And I said, "Let's do it." And that's how I began. But I never wanted to do anything else. Never.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I actually taught special education for 7 years before becoming a teacher of students with visual impairments. And it was 3 years before I left to do this. I had my first student who was totally blind. And working with her, it just changed everything for me. I'm about to start crying just talking about it, but it made me rethink how I was teaching, and it just changed everything. And I got bit by the bug, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And within like a year and a half, here I am. And it's just, but yeah, I think it's just, you get those students sometimes that they're just always going to be one of those students, and she was one of them. And it's yeah, that's definitely my why.